you started really achieving things fast, matter of weeks, you quit your job. What results have you seen since that then?
I started making money pretty much, within the first 2 weeks. Last month I just did on 5k I think, and this month I'm set to do just quite a bit over that. While the money's good, I think finding people that can push you and you can push them to both succeed together, I think that's very important.
So I'm here today in Greece with Henry, where we're locked in for a month with the boys, a few other boys from the community, and we're just coming here today so Henry can have a little speech, a little bit of time to tell you guys what his journey's been like. And well, why don't you start off with introducing yourself, who you are, where you're from?
Right, so my name's Henry, I'm 19, I'm from the UK. Started Point Me Saying about 2 months ago. Decided to quit my job about a week into it because I saw the potential. And yeah, nothing different between all of us boys out here. We're all 19-year-old lads, from the UK, trying to make something of it.
Yeah. What initially then made you realise that something has to change?
I think it's that same feeling that all of us shared before we actually got into this. That's you just can't keep going on waking up early in the morning, working long hours for shit pay. Realistically, I mean, I'm sure everyone here used to be on around the same wage, knew they wanted more, but it's just about who's willing to actually take that step.
Okay, what would you say you were struggling with day to day before we started working together?
Before we started working together, I'd say I was struggling with quite a lot of things like time management, actually holding myself accountable to get stuff done. Before I actually got into this, I said I was a lot more lazy. I wasn't prepared to actually just get my head down and make things work. But when that opportunity's in front of you and you actually put your back against the wall and, you invest a lot of time and resources into this, that it all becomes, apparent that you need to do that.
What had you already tried to make money online, to be able to get out of this routine where you're just waking up, going to work, like you just mentioned?
So I'd looked into a few things. I'm sure everyone has looked into things like trading and drop shipping. However, with a lot of those things, there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of risk that I wasn't prepared to take. I know certainly for trading, you need a lot of money to get started with that, and you need a lot of patience. You see traders that take years to actually get into it, and I hadn't actually heard of a Point Me Saying before I found Ollie. And once I learned a bit more about it, I knew that it was definitely the best method out there that you could put work into and actually see results the quickest.
Great. So knowing then that you had to go to work 9 to 5, but you wanted to make this money online, you knew that you wanted more, like you mentioned. How did that actually feel day to day when you were struggling, you couldn't find a way of making it work?
I mean, it gets to a point where you just get tired of wanting more, and it almost feels like there's nothing out there that can really work for you. And I think that's where a lot of people end up quitting. I think just that last little bit. I think people think out there that there's no way. You see a lot of people online making money, and I think a lot of us think that you can't do it. But I think the hardest part is actually just reaching out and making that first step. Once you actually just send that message and say, I need help. That's the hardest part. And once you do that, it all from there, it gets a lot easier.
So before you did actually reach out and you asked for that help, what kind of things were you struggling with day to day?
I think definitely the trust. I think there's a lot of people out there online. It can be quite daunting getting into online space. There's a lot of resources out there, and there's a lot of people saying, you can get to XYZ. But I think knowing who to trust and what process to trust is the hardest part. And I think one thing about Ollie is that, the moment I saw a few of his videos, that I saw someone that I could relate to and someone that I knew that I could trust to get me to those goals.
And when you were allowing yourself to then start, not only trusting me, but trusting yourself, start working towards some goals, taking that risk, investing in yourself, like, how fast did things start to shift?
I mean, I think after I first got in contact with Ollie, it was a matter of weeks before I actually started to see the process begin. As soon as I became available to those resources, Ollie's help, the other coaches' help. I think that's also the biggest part that people miss out is that support that you also get alongside it. And once I did make that step and I reached out, it's a matter of weeks before I was able to quit my job, go all in with it, and and I could start making those steps.
Yeah, so you started really achieving things fast, matter of weeks, you quit your job. What results have you seen since that then?
Well, I mean, after joining a Point Me Saying, quitting my part-time job, I started making money pretty much within the first 2 weeks. And since then, last month I just did on a 5K, I think, and this month I'm set to do just quite a bit over that. So it's pretty rapid. And not to mention that I only started appointment setting 2 months ago, 3 months ago ish. It's the quickest results I could have probably hoped to see.
What would you say is like the number one best thing you've achieved so far? What is that goal that you've hit that you're really proud of?
I mean, obviously the money's good in appointment setting. That's obviously a general goal that I think we all share. But I think another thing as well that a lot of people skim over is the the lads around that you meet. I mean, we're all like-minded individuals here. We all push for the same kind of goals, and we all have the same values. And I think that's very important. Surrounding yourself by a group of lads that all want the same thing, that all have that work ethic and those values. I think that's very important. So I'd say, while the money's good, I think finding people that can push you and you can push them to, both succeed together, I think that's very important.
And why is it that you think our process has worked so well and got you these results so fast?
I think there's a lot of procedures in place, and I think there's a lot of accountability to be held, and that's what all the coaches do very well. They understand where your goals are, they understand where you're currently at, and they guide you through that step by step process, even as soon as how to quit your job, when you can quit your job, and making sure that you're hitting each milestone, so that when you feel ready, it's all there on a plate for you, and that you can make those steps with the right support you need. It's not as simple as just like quitting your 9 to 5, because then you're on your own after that. But these lads really make sure that you're supported all along the way.
And obviously now you have been in the space quite a while, good few months, so you've been around, you've seen other people's experiences too, and what else is offered out there. What would you say is different about our approach, about the way we do things, that was appealing to you and has worked well?
I think one of the biggest things with all there is online these days is that a lot of the courses you see, even a lot of the mentorships, a lot of the groups, there's a lot of people in there, and a lot of them can't get the help they need. However, with RGS and certainly with Ollie, we run quite a tight ship here, and there's while our group is growing, we make sure that, or the coaches make sure that everyone gets the help they need, and making sure that everyone is seen to. No one gets left unseen. We daily check-ins, weekly check-ins with people. So, even to the point where we're seeing how close you are to leaving your 9 to 5, which is important.
Yeah. What would you say, if you had to really put a finger on it, what actually helped the most?
I think what helped the most was that constant support. I think with courses these days, you get given a bunch of information and you get left with it. I think the thing that is very important is that that constant contact with someone, because a lot of these people, when they get into the online space, they feel like they're alone, they feel like they're isolated. But having someone kind of do it with you that's already done it, all of the coaches have done it themselves. They've been in the space for a while, they know what they're doing. I think if I had to put it down to one thing, I think it was that constant support, knowing that it wasn't just me that had invested into it. They've also invested into me.
Yeah. Great. And so you were, you came out of school, you knew you didn't want to go to uni, and you found yourself kind of stuck in this position where you were working at Amazon, delivery driving, so it's okay money for that kind of job. But what would you say to someone who is in that similar position to you? Because I see it all the time now. Guys our age that don't want to go down that traditional route where you're paying tens of thousands for a uni course, where there are these ways where you can go get, like, you could even say like the online coaches, the mentorship, the programs that can get you making money faster. What would your advice be to them people in your situation?
I think my one piece of advice that I used myself would be to kind of picture yourself in the future. I was stuck, obviously, as Ollie mentioned, in a Amazon delivery driving job. Working those long hours for just the most money I could get. But the way I kind of saw it was, would you rather look back in 20 years and regret not taking that step, or would you rather just give it a go now and potentially fail? I mean, there's always a chance of failing. Nothing's ever guaranteed. But I'd rather give it a go and learn from it. At a young age, we don't have many commitments and responsibilities. So now's the best time to actually make that step and invest in yourself. So I'd say, just take a look at yourself in the future and think, I'd rather take that step now than look back and regret not taking it.
100%, man. Okay, and would you recommend RGS to others, and why?
I think 100%. I'd definitely recommend RGS, and I know I've already touched on a few points, but once again, I'm going to go back to the fact that we've got multiple coaches with all different areas of experience in this kind of field, and that constant support. Like I mentioned earlier, the courses these days, they just leave you with a bunch of information, and I think what's really vital is just having someone to go through step by step with you. I know when I started, Ethan, one of the coaches, was constantly checking in with me, seeing how I was getting on with the content, making sure I was hitting my weekly goals. Yeah, I definitely recommend RGS. I think all of the coaches there really just help you hit those goals in each way.
So speaking of recommending it, have you actually referred anyone since?
Yeah, so I have actually. One of my friends approached me after seeing me online a few times with Ollie himself, and he said he was stuck in the same position as me. Didn't want to be stuck in either some corporate job or going to uni and stuff like that.
He was also Amazon delivery driving, right?
Yeah. So he was at Amazon delivery driving with me. I've known this guy for quite a while. We went to school together, and yeah, I just saw a bit of myself in him. He looked a bit stuck. So I reached out to him, or he reached out to me, and then I said, give this a go. It's worth it. RGS can really help you get there. And ever since then, he's joined. He's hitting all his weekly goals, and yeah, he's smashing it actually. So yeah, I just definitely recommend it.
Cool. So even if I imagine the position I was in back when I wanted to make money online, I'd probably see something like this and I'd want to get involved, but I may still have some doubts, be on the fence in a way. So what would your advice be? What would you say to someone who is on the fence, doesn't really know if this is for them or if they can be successful in it?
I think you never know until you try, really. I think a lot of people, you're always going to have that doubt. You're always going to have that thought in the back of your mind. Is this really what I want to do? And I think a lot of people have that in all aspects of life. Do you want to go to uni? Do you want to go corporate? But with appointment saying, it's a relatively new skill that's just been introduced to people our age. So I think I'd say to people on the fence, just 100%, like just give it a go. And you never know until you actually give it a try. And with sales, it's such a broad, topic, kind of job area that anyone can really do it, and it's a really good skill to just learn. So I'd say if you're on the fence, then yeah, just give it a try. Give it a try. Why not?
Cool. So now obviously you have this freedom. You're not stuck in this job anymore. You're out here with us in Greece and you're living a very different lifestyle. Sum up what the future looks like for you. What plans do you have? What do you want to go into? What are you going to start doing?
I've got quite a lot of plans for the future, and I think those plans wouldn't be possible without appointment setting, because a lot of people think, you go into appointment setting and then what's after that, but I think there's a lot to offer after you actually get into appointment setting. Personally, for me, I've got a few trips planned. I'm going to Thailand with the RGS boys. I'm going to potentially go to New York in January with Finn, one of the lads that does appointment setting. And in terms of kind of career wise, after appointment setting, I'm hopefully going into maybe closing or appointment setter managing. There's so many different routes you can go down that I know that I'll always have that support and those options to split off into whatever kind of niche that I want to. I think that's important to have those options.
It's great, right? Because it gives you that insight. You can see areas of a real business that's making hundreds of thousands, maybe millions a month. So you can understand what you do like, where the money is, what you can go into. Great. Was there anything else at all you wanted to add before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just touching back on the people that are on the fence. Hopefully people can watch this and see a bit of themselves in us. We're nothing special. I mean, I know some of us here, most of us probably didn't do well in school, and I know people watching this probably aren't doing well in school either, and you're probably stressing about not being able to get into uni or not being able to make something of a corporate job. But just know that that's not all there is to life. Just give it a go. It definitely pays off. I invested in myself, and I think people watching this should do that as well. As long as you believe that you can give it your all and put in the work, then you can make something of pretty much anything.
Yeah, well said. And I feel like if you are in that position where you are stressing, like, don't worry, there's options for you to go and do even more. All right, you now have the freedom to choose whatever you want to do, not whatever system or path is out there made for you. As long as you go take the action, you do actually make some change. So yeah, thanks for that, Henry. Very insightful. I know for sure everyone would have got a lot of value off that. And yeah, we'll enjoy the rest of our stay here in Greece and maybe see Henry again sometime soon.